Five. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Greenhouse recap and discussion. Um, Edmund is not here today. Um, he probably overslept. He was supposed to be here today. He may make an appearance. If not, we're just going to say that he had work, even though he definitely overslept. But lucky me, I have two extra special guests today. So it kind of makes up for Edmund not being here. Our first guest is the one, the only Miss Dusty Buns.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm an avid Taylor Luke girly. I've watched a bunch of his series. I've watched all of the Greenhouse and some of his other series. So Taylor girl, I'm probably gonna hit you up. You know you want me to play a game. It's my turn. I gotta step in. I'm so excited to talk our shit. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, ma'am. And our other guest, she's newer to the greenhouse. She's my bestie. It's Maddie Ice.
What it do, baby boo?
How are
Hello,
you?
hello. I'm good. Super honored to be brought on to this super successful pod for the greenhouse. As Papa said, I'm a little newer to the greenhouse fandom, but a huge fan. Season 6 has been great so far. So excited to dive in to the greenhouse fam.
So, since you guys have not been on the podcast all season, what have we thought about the season so far?
Girl, this season has been good. I was worried for a few rounds, these past couple rounds. I was worried that the trajectory was going to get blandy bland because I thought the girls were just going to get picked off one by one. But this episode turned that all around. Finally, a big girlie got out of this game. So it's been good. And the last night was a good episode. It was juice.
I would agree. As I said, I'm newer to the greenhouse. I think I've watched a little bit of like season 3 and a little bit of 5, but I've never really watched like a full season all the way through yet. So I'm like, I don't know if this is just normally how these games go, but from what I'm used to, it's a lot more back and forth or like cutthroat earlier on. And this really seemed to be like a group of the house was just kind of moving along together. And I was kind of waiting for something more to happen. And like Dusty said, this episode definitely brought that. So the viewers got a better taste of what maybe some of us were looking for. So I'm excited to see how the rest of it plays out.
Definitely.
So let's just jump right in and talk about this juicy round. So we start the round in actually 2 episodes ago, where for the greenhouse challenge, they have to use little paddles to transfer $1 worth of coins across the driveway into their cups. How do you think you would have done if you competed in this challenge?
Well, if nobody saw my shaky ass in Ascendance Unplugged trying to hold that pole together, I would have done horribly. I would have been dropping them coins all the way. I wouldn't have even have gotten to the table that the cups were on because I would have been dropping coins all along the way, all along. I would have done horrible. There was no way I would have won that. Absolutely never.
Challenge alone, I think I could have done okay. I'm a little bit of like a comp winner in a lot of my games, maybe a little too much. So I think, thank God they gave them the exact change because if I would have had to figure that out, like the math on the fly, that would have been my downfall. But like physically taking it across would have been fine. But yeah, the math, I swipe the Amex. I don't deal with the change. So that would have been the hardest part. But it would have been interesting. Depending on where I was in the game, a lot of people have been throwing a lot, which I think makes sense. Like especially in this phase where like you can't necessarily compete the next round if you win. So being strategical on who has already won and like maybe trying to get a second or a third place spot depending on who already finished ahead of me. But it was a cute comp.
So there was the option to spend a seed to use a quarter You could buy up to 4, obviously. Would you have used the seed to help make the comp a little easier, or do you think the quarter would have made it harder and Taylor Luke was just being nasty?
Nasty boots.
I'm unsure. I think I would have done it probably, thinking it would have been a better idea. But was it genuinely? I'm not really sure. However, all of my seeds I would have had, yep, quarters, bitch. Give them up. Give them up. All of them. Take them
I
all.
feel like I'm probably gonna say this a lot. Like, I'm new to the series, but like I feel like the seed economy is like you want to hold on to them like in any situation you can, and I almost feel like what did they have? Dimes and nickels.
And
Those are
pennies,
like
yeah.
those are like smaller, so I feel like there's less surface area to like for the paddle. I feel like the quarter would have made it fall more.
Yeah. That's why I was like,
But I
maybe
don't know.
Taylor's trying to be nasty. Like, oh, it's definitely less trips, but like, you're going to have to take longer trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And quarters are heavier, so you know what? I would have fell for that trap. I would have been right up in it. Right up in it. I would have fucking frolicked right into that bitch. Like, give them up. Oh, and that wouldn't have helped my case. Not at all.
So Oscar gets first, Elise gets second, and Josh gets third. And we go into the flower picking ceremony. And Oscar, who is first and gets whatever the fuck he wants, decides to go for 2 seeds. How do we feel about this?
Well, I feel like this whole round, I thought Oscar was a little bit like comfortable, thinking he was good no matter what. So it was not. I mean, there's a couple things Oscar has done that was questionable these past couple rounds, but bad idea. I don't understand why he would have offered to take the seeds. I don't get it. I can't be me. Couldn't.
I guess I have a question. With the seeds, would he have been able to compete?
Next
Can he
week?
compete again?
Yep.
So, like, I guess I sort of see it, especially with Elise being there and Josh, who he's like both pretty close with. So I feel like if it was us three, no, I'm just kidding.
I'd be taking the flower. I don't trust y'all.
I probably would have. It's definitely a risk, but I think calculated risk. But like he felt safe with those people, so why not take 2 seeds? These people should protect you, and then you get to compete next round. So like, I get why he did it, I guess, but
Yeah, I agree. I think if I was in Oscar's position, just like seeing the game from like his eyes, it did make sense. Just because like, Elise isn't gonna put me up. Josh is supposed to be in the final 3 with me. And like Oscar knows, like we just bid on fucking Flytrap last round. We need to pick up some seeds. So let me just get these seeds and move on. So we jump right into the strategy, and Zach immediately goes to Josh to try and get Oscar backdoored. How do we feel with Zach going to Josh, who is supposed to be close with Oscar, just scrambling immediately?
For me, Zach's got some balls. He when it comes to like the strategy, he will go straight in, and I think that I'm not sure if Zach's very good under pressure when it comes to the scrambling, because I feel like when I'm watching Zach, he's like very frantic. So I don't know if he thinks before he speaks sometimes during the strategy part. So I don't know. Sometimes I just look at him like, maybe you shouldn't have said that to that person, or maybe we should have just piped it down a little bit, girl. He honestly should have just shut his mouth, because he's been thrown around a lot these past couple rounds.
yeah, that makes sense. I feel like he's been in kind of the hot seat for the last couple of rounds and like has skated by, luckily. So I I guess at this point though, if you feel like your back's against the wall and you're probably going up, like might as well pitch something. I just think like this greenhouse was an unfortunate set of 3 to make that happen.
I like what Zach said, where he was like, what's the difference between like 7th and 4th? And like, I'm the same way. It's like, if I'm going to go out, I'd rather just let me go now before I know that I'm gonna get fourth. It's like, you know, Oscar and Elise are definitely in the end together. Like they're obviously gonna take themselves like each other over me. So what's the point? Which I think was a very valid like pitch to everyone, but no one was like grabbing onto it at first. They were just like, okay, like you're gonna get seventh anyways. Like no one cares. Like, um, so I know that we were kind of talking about Zach. How do we feel with like Zach's position in the game right now?
I think he's on like a polar opposite. Like if I had to rank everyone, it's like Elise and Oscar on one side, like Zach's way over here, and then like you move in a level, and like then there's Johnny, and there's like Josh, and then you have like Taylor and Piglet. Like I feel like as you move in, like Zach's kind of like on a polar opposite, and he kind of has to rely on his kind of early alliance to keep him around.
I definitely would agree with that. I feel like this round did not start off very promising for Zach, but with the chain of events that happened during this later in the round, I feel like now if we like take into account what happened this round, I think Zach's in a good spot now. I I don't see him being the one to be targeted. I don't even know why really necessarily he was being targeted as much as he was, but now I think he's good. Like it's going to be Elise, it's going to be Johnny, and then I honestly think they should be looking at Piglet too. So I think those are who the targets will be now, and I think Zach's sitting pretty and cute right now.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because like everyone keeps pushing the like very obvious Elise and Oscar duo, but you kind of start seeing all these little duos pop up now, which is like very weird because we all thought, well, at least for me, like, you know, it's kind of Johnny, Emily, Taylor, Zach against everyone else, and like it still kind of is. But now you kind of see Taylor moving in with Piglet and making a little duo. Johnny and Zach are starting to be more of a duo, and like going into Final Six, Elise just lost her duo, so she's gonna either have to pull in Josh or they're just both gonna be like, "Hey, what's the game plan? What are we doing?" Um, so how do we feel about like each of those duos? More specifically, like the I guess the new found duo with Piglet and Taylor.
Honestly, I feel like that duo with Taylor and Piglet has been like kind of blossoming in the back for a bit now, but it's probably a good option for both of them because I feel like even though Piglet's like more known with the jury, I think that they know him more than Taylor, obviously. I think it would be a good matchup for both of them because in reality, I don't think either of them were spearheads of anything this game so far. I feel bad for Taylor because she kind of got put into this role where she kind of had to follow whatever people told her, and they kind of just it was like again every time, every round, like Taylor do this, Taylor do this, Taylor do this, and she kind of had to comply with that. And same thing, Piglet's been kind of under the radar too, and hasn't really been one to make decisions. He's kind of been following too, so it could be a really good final two if they made it that far together.
Yeah, I think it was really funny. Piglet was like, "Well, it sounds like y'all already made the decision." I died laughing, and I feel like him and Taylor are in a really good spot now where they're going to be able to. I think they're kind of in the middle of these, outer layers, and they can kind of weave and bob left and right depending on what they want to do, which we saw Taylor able to kind of step up and do that this episode. And Piglet really had the opportunity to do that as well with all of the banked votes, but he made a decision for himself to keep them. So I think now that they've positioned themselves so well socially, they're going to have more capital to do what they want going into the end game. So I'm very excited for it. I'm a little biased because I love Taylor, but and I've been a Piglet stan for a while now. So I think I'm excited to see what they do with this new position of power, is what it seems like they will have, and the dynamics moving forward. So it'll be exciting. I think the other duos are going to be like Zach and Johnny have been working together for a long time. Johnny always like seems to go out there and make whatever deal or conversation he needs to survive, and like you got to give props to him for making it through and surviving and getting people to still work with him and believe him and all of these things. So I think he can continue to do that. Like, I don't see why not. I'm afraid for Elise that I think she is just such like a huge threat. Like, everyone's saying no one can beat her in the end, so she's going to be kind of painted as this public enemy number one of like, you have to get her out. And once that narrative is out there, whether it's really true or not, like if that person gets to the end, that's what everyone's going to talk about. So you almost have to get that person out, which sucks for her. But and then I don't know what Josh is going to do now, so we'll see what he does. Very that Valencia.
Literally,
Yeah.
I feel like every round Johnny makes at least 5 new deals, and which it's crazy because now there's only 5 people left. It's not him to make 5 new deals with, and it's just like, girl, let's knock it down a few and maybe go to like 3 or 2. Like your deals should be like solid now. You've made so many throughout the season. Like you shouldn't have to make any more.
It's wild that he gets away with this and that it's helped him so much. He is like a steamroller. He's just like beelines to whoever he needs to make a deal with, makes it, they believe him, moves on, makes it, believe him. Johnny's
The
a
only
powerhouse that needs
person
to go.
that has clocked Johnny's tea, and I keep saying it, and they keep not working with him, is Elise. And I am so happy, and it brings me so much joy every episode when Johnny tries to make another deal with Elise, and Elise is like, I don't see it happening. You know, I have my allies, and I don't see us working together. And Johnny still tries, and I think it's like he's trying to like make the whole "you hate me, I love you" thing with Oscar. He's trying to like make that with Elise now, and Elise will get him.
Will she though?
She might need a Johnny deal now that she
Right. Wait, no, she might like rethink her ideas now that he's gonna take a flower and she's gonna go up.
So I know this is like super jumping ahead, but discussion, do we think Elise is gonna run to Johnny and be like, remember all those deals that you made me that you said I didn't have to stick with, but you were gonna stick with? Do you think she's like gonna bring that up to Johnny and be like, don't nominate me? If he does get a flower, Johnny could pull an Oscar and take 2 seeds, but if he is a flower, do you think that'll happen?
I definitely think it's gonna happen, yes. I can see Johnny taking the seeds though because he currently has 0. So, but he's gonna be making deals with. Well, Taylor and Zach shouldn't put him up, but wait, is it Zach? It is Zach, right?
Yeah, so the 3 are Johnny,
That's
Taylor, and
his
Zach.
like trio,
Okay.
right?
Yes. So yeah, he might take the seeds. Honestly, I could see that happening because he has none. He needs something. So
I think Johnny is in his mind, which like he definitely is the biggest threat. So like he would be stupid not to take safety. Like considering if you take the safety now, you can compete next week. Like the final 5, everyone can compete. So why pass it up? You know, like I get, you know, you need seeds going into the end game, but Johnny is fighting to get to the end game right now. He is not locked there at all.
absolutely not.
But moving backwards, because we jumped way too far ahead, that was part of the end of the episode discussion. But, you know, we go all over the place. Obviously, Johnny and Zach get nominated. Are we shocked?
No.
No.
No,
I don't
that's no.
I don't think
That
anyone was shocked.
If anyone was, please comment why. Comment why.
Fair enough.
Let
I
us
would like
know.
to know. I would like to know why.
There's that. What was shocking was Zach gave Johnny his seeds, which is like, I get Zach's point of like, well, I don't have enough to uproot, and if I give you my seeds, like you'll have enough. But like, why didn't you ask Johnny if you could have his seeds? So then you could uproot. Because like, didn't Zach give him like 2 seeds? So you had more of them. You should have just asked Johnny for the one. Like
Right.
it made no sense to me.
Good point. I don't really know
But
what.
then would Elise make the renom, or would it still have been Josh?
Oh yeah, I guess yeah, because he
Because I
wanted
think like at that
Oscar.
point, everyone Zachary, yes, clock the tea. I think
Clock the tea.
everyone at that point was like, Oscar just needs to go up and go out if we're gonna do anything. And I think everyone kind of saw that and they needed to break up the duo. Elise couldn't go up, I don't think, because she was a flower.
Yeah.
So like he's the only option. For that to happen, Elise obviously isn't gonna put him up. Josh is the only one that even possibly would. So like I think it was a huge move on Zach's part. And he was really the one who, without those seeds, Johnny wouldn't have been able to do it. I don't think anyone else would have given him the seeds to do so. So it's, you know, in a large part, Zach's move to be like, hey, I'll sacrifice these seeds and stay on the block. If you can get yourself off and get Oscar up there, let's make something happen. It was a huge move.
Massive. The biggest one of the season.
Very smart, very mindful.
Very demure.
Yes.
No, yeah, I guess I didn't think about it like that because, like, you know, my brain was just like, everyone will put up Oscar, but then it's like, Elise will not put up Oscar.
No.
So look at Zach waking up at the final 7. Good for you.
Don't do Zach.
He's in a good spot now. Zach, now you're in a good spot, girl. You're in a good one now.
I think you're right, Dusty. I think there's now that the move has been made and like the house isn't all playing Connect 4 together. I think like
Connect
now
Four.
God, RuPaul's best friend race.
Yeah, that's what it's been seeming like. So I think, you know, it was like that one round that he needed to get by, and now everyone's going to look everywhere else to be like, all right, who are these people I don't want to sit by, you know, at the end. So
yeah, because like if people start having the discussion, it's going to be like Elise and Johnny. And then it's like people are going to be like, well, Taylor was good with everyone towards the end. So like maybe she'll be a jury threat, even though she fucked everyone over. Like she could still, you know, get jury votes. So I think it's bad to say because like you never want to be like not seen at the end, because I feel like at the end, like that's the time to be seen. So when you're walking out the door, like your name's in everyone's mind in like a good positive way. But I think like if Zach is at the end with like Josh and maybe Piglet, he could have a chance because like Zach has, you know, a move under his belt. Like granted, like Josh also has it because like he put up Oscar, but all Zach had to do was be like, I gave Johnny the seeds to start the move.
It was kind of a collection of.
I don't know if I would have done that. Like if I knew that Johnny was going, or like, well, I think Zach was kind of the target.
Zach was, yeah, for sure going.
Even more so, like knowing that I'm the target, to give that up to somebody else, that's a huge risk. Like, and I think, I don't know if Zach will get as much credit as he deserves for that, because Johnny was the one that like went to Josh and they had the big conversation. But like, Zach deserves a lot of props for that.
Honestly, though, you're right, and I didn't think about it until you just said it. If I'm being real, so you're very right. You're very right. Zach does deserve the credit for this move. It's kind of a collective between all three: Johnny, Josh, and Zach, because Johnny convinced Josh to do it, which I didn't think was going to happen. That was shocking to me, is that he did that.
Yeah, so that's my next point to talk about is Johnny. You know, he loves to yap and make his deals and get people to do what he wants. Johnny somehow convinced Josh that it was in his best move to put up one of his closest allies, Oscar, and, you know, let Johnny uproot and do all this stuff. And it's like, I've been saying for rounds now that Josh needs to wake up and he needs to play the game. And I do think like this round he did wake up and play the game, but do I think this was his best move, like for his game currently? No,
absolutely not.
But it was a very great move that needed to be made, because now I don't know where Josh goes from this. I see where Johnny goes from this, but I don't see how it benefited Josh as much as it benefited Johnny.
Right. I would almost think that it kind of shoots Josh in the foot a little doing this, because now even if you got to the end, Oscar's going to be bitter. You're going to be bitter Betty girl. And then Elise will also be bitter because now she's kind of alone now. So I think Josh kind of shot himself in the foot here, and I don't know. Taking Josh to the end is probably the greatest option right now. Dude, let's be real.
That's been the greatest option
No,
since
for
day
real.
one, minute one.
Oh. Oh, minute one, girl. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Josh definitely messed himself up. I think Johnny has been and is the biggest threat of this entire game. Has been since day one, minute one. And I bet Oscar now is regretting not, fly trapping Johnny. And why would we take out Emily when Emily was taking the sword for Johnny?
I never understood that, and I never will. But maybe we should poll the audience and ask them. Oscar, if you're watching, which I know Taylor Luke is watching, so that might mean that Oscar's watching. Why?
Comment below. Comment below.
Comment below.
Please. Very
Um,
curious.
but throughout all this, we kind of see a lot of Taylor this episode, which is nice because my good sis has not been getting all the screen time. She's kind of been just, in the background, chilling, working with her allies, arguing with them because every time they just force her to make a move she doesn't want to make. And Taylor's kind of in the power position this round, even though she's not a flower nominating people. She doesn't have, she has equal amount of seeds to most people, but her vote means the most here out of pretty much anyone. So how do we feel with Taylor kind of all of a sudden going from a really not, I wouldn't say like the worst position that she was in, but she was starting to trend downwards to now kind of being on the up and up.
Definitely on the up and up, and we love that. And yeah, we are all biased. We're all pro Taylor biases in this call today. So we're just going to make that clear. That's a good Judy sister right there. Yeah, she actually ultimately had the decision of what to do: take out Zach or take out Oscar. Honestly, obviously, I think she chose the best option here. Really glad she did not decide to keep Oscar because she and Piglet absolutely could have. But it was pivotal for her. She needed this. She needed this because, girly, as you said, she has not been getting the airtime she needed or the moves made because she's been kind of pushed against the wall by everybody in the game. So I don't really see what this cast is saying about Taylor. Like, she's been pushed against the wall. She hasn't really gotten to do anything. So I don't get the Taylor being thrown out. Like, her name has been spoken a couple times this round, and I don't really understand why. Because she's honestly just been chilling there because that's all she's been given.
Yeah, I think this was a huge point for her, and she kind of put herself in the most middle position, which I think is a great spot to be at, especially when there are big targets now that people are going to look at, like Johnny and Elise, like we've been saying. So she's in a good spot as well. And I'm also biased, but I hosted Taylor in the last game she's been referencing, and this is just kind of how she played, and people didn't see her game enough. I don't think she plays very, very well. She's playing very, very similar, but now doing this so publicly, like, it forces people to look at her and see that, like, she did this, she was mindful in what she was doing and what she was saying to people, and she was running all over, having the conversations and telling people, like, I'm saying this to them just to make, so and so feel comfortable, and like, let me talk to Pelican for 2 seconds and I'll come over to you, Johnny. Like, she was kind of, the middle pin, making the move this round, making the call this round, I should say. So I think it's great for her game. And now she's, in the greenhouse. So I think she's getting the momentum swinging back up, which is what you want to do towards the end.
I will say, for my notes, I had written down Taylor playing both sides perfectly. And then I had to put the ... for 5 minutes because no one knew that Taylor was being messy and, telling Elise and Oscar, oh, there's no way, like, I would ever vote out Oscar. Like, I don't want Oscar on the block. And then she's going over to Johnny and Zach and it's like, oh, yeah, like, for sure, like, Oscar needs to go. And then she kind of has her little thing with Piglet where she's like, I really don't want, like, Oscar to go up. It makes no sense. And then all of a sudden, she's just, like, out in the open, talking with everyone, getting confronted by Oscar. Like, it starts going downhill for Taylor. But, like, I still don't think it's horrible for her. I just think this would have played off better for her, just like kind of socially for like jury management perspective, if it all stayed hidden and maybe Oscar got blindsided and didn't know because like as we see, Piglet doesn't use both of Oscar's banked votes that he gave him to use, so he might have blamed Piglet for flipping instead of Taylor. So I think if Taylor just played it a little differently and maybe just been like, Johnny, no, don't pass me the uproot, it's okay, I'll take my chances, because at that point Zach would have still been on the block and went home if she did go up. I think she could have played it a little differently just to help maybe not have Oscar pissed at her towards the end, considering Oscar has been very vocal all game. And we know Oscar's going to go into that jury and be very vocal about what he likes and what he does not like.
100%.
I agree with you, and I get what you're saying. I think at the same time, like, and maybe this is a greenhouse thing, everyone is so, like, upfront with what they're doing, and, like, no one wants to, like, blindside anyone, and everyone wants to give everyone the warning. If I would have bid in the last millisecond and a half at that auction, do not let anybody know that that's what you're doing, but it's, like, everyone wants to say, hey, I'm doing this, like, it's for the game, and, like, maybe that's because they have better jury management than me. I don't know. But, like, I would have made it be, like, a gag moment for them. Don't let Oscar even know what's happening so he doesn't have the option to give banked votes to people. I think that's a little more of an aggressive move.
If you bid on uproot in the, like, individual, like, single digit rounds, and it's used, then you still have time. So there is still the time to, like, the renom is immediate, but you still have time to talk. You get like anywhere between like 5 and 10 minutes. So they still would have had time to come together, give the banked votes, talk, here's my seeds, do this, but it would have been more of a scramble than since they had half the round, since Oscar found out because Elise was in the bathroom and they were like, she's in there, but Josh didn't care. He said, let me just blab and blab and blab.
And she said, let me in the door, bitch, right after. She's like, what's going on?
She's like, hey. And they were like, I need to go talk to someone else. Like, that is always like what surprises me about this game. Is like, these people do not care. They tell people, no, I'm talking. Please go.
Give us 2 minutes.
They get up, they walk away, they don't care. They're just like, oh, I need to go talk to someone else. So then Elise is stuck talking to someone she didn't want to talk to right now. Like, it's crazy. And like, especially in a round like this where they're all going from downstairs to upstairs to outside with the donkeys, like they are running around. But obviously Johnny buys the uproot and passes it to Taylor, and Taylor uses the uproot on Johnny. I'm loving that this season, I said it last time uproot was passed and then used. I'm loving that people are using the strategy of passing the uproot to make someone safe and then using it on them. And it comes from, the gamers. Both times it's come from Johnny. And I just think it's a part of the game that not a lot of people like think about. And I'm glad that like it's being showcased so much this season, because I think like hopefully for future seasons, for the people that don't play like online games or live games as crazy as we do, it makes them think, a little bit more about the strategy of how that works.
100.
How do y'all feel about that?
I definitely agree, because I've never really noticed that until you brought it up for previous seasons, that it really isn't showcased. And that is probably because some of these players for Taylor Luke games are not as crazy as we are that play or have played many of these games before. So, you know what? I never thought about it, but that is wild. And has been from Johnny, but we already know Johnny is a game bot. He day one, like 0-0, let's go. He's in. What deal is he going to make out? But yeah, that's a really good point, and I'm kind of glad it is also being brought up. So, because you know what, in next seasons, we can see some juicy shit from this being used more often. And then it saved Taylor, so yay!
That's the bias showing.
Oh, I will let it be known, girls. I will.
I think that's smart. I think a really unique thing about this game and this format is you do have to rely on other people a lot. Like giving someone a banked vote, giving someone a seed, sharing your seeds. Like there's a lot of trade and a lot of back and forth and a lot of, if I give you this, will you please use it to help me? Like you have to put your whole like game life in these other people's hands. So if you can do that and gain some favor, you can kind of trust that person more going forward, especially for like a Final Four format situation. So I think it's smart to utilize and make the move and build that bond a little stronger. And I hope more people do it in the future because, it's a 2-for-1 sizzle of safety.
Yeah. So Oscar gets renominated. The gasp heard around the world from the call that we watched the episode on. So they all have some time to go talk. It's not a ton of time, but it's pretty much just the do we have the vote scramble time. And Oscar has three banked votes. And he's in the room with Elise and Piglet, and they're talking about what they should do. And Elise is smart and clocks that maybe they should use every single banked vote they have. Why do you think that Oscar and Piglet just kind of like shut it down and didn't really bite onto that idea? They were like, okay, like we could use one or two, but like not all three.
Honestly, you got me. Again, comment below. Comment below. Why did we do this? Because I don't know. I was worried that they were going to tie the vote. Because, I mean, they could have with their bank votes. And I don't know why they shut it down. And I really question this decision. I honestly don't know how to answer that. Because, again, I have no idea. I was kind of confused as why they were just like, yeah, no, we don't need them. We're good.
I don't know either. I don't know if it was a fake sense of trust in everyone else that Zach was for sure going to go. I don't know if they just didn't know how many banked votes the other group had, but I feel like this might be wrong, but I feel like Oscar was one of the last people to get like a seed. Do you also get to know banked vote count when you buy that?
Yeah, so when you buy a seed
like,
count, you get a banked vote and a seed count.
So I feel like they should have been able to know more so where they were. And at that point, towards the end game, if you really don't want Oscar to go, which if I'm Oscar, I really don't want to go, you got to do what you got to do. But they might have just been trying to save their resources for the next round. Unfortunately, now you ain't going to be there, so they're useless. But like, I don't know. It was a question mark to me as well. But Elise clocked it right away. She was like, we can make this happen. Sure thing. If we, do it. But I don't know also if Piglet was just like, well, I can keep these for me in the next round. So whether he would have done it or not, had they all agreed to it, is a question as well.
Yeah, I was thinking potentially in Piglet's mind, he thought, okay, Johnny and Taylor are sending Oscar home. Like Johnny told me he has banked votes he's going to use. So maybe I should just be like, yeah, give me your banked votes. I'll use them. And just, he kind of died with it. And that's why he split his vote at the end. But I don't know. I think if Piglet was really down for the cause of, getting those three to the end, he should have used it all. I think he probably thought in the back of his mind, Oscar really does need to go. I can't beat him. And he found this as like his easy way out. But I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. I would have loved to see a tie. I don't think we've ever seen a tie where like the Rose broke the tie up until this point. So I would have loved to see the drama of that because like obviously Elise would have kept Oscar, and who knows what would have happened at the start of next round.
Right. Yeah. I was confused about Piglet because during this whole episode, particularly in this part of the round, I was getting the vibe that he obviously really didn't want to do this. He did not want to do this. Let's be so for real. So I really thought he was going to be game and down to go with this and use all of what they had and save Oscar. But then I was still confused. Well, A, that he didn't do that, and B, that he split the vote. I, girl, I don't know.
That I think was the biggest question mark for me for the entire episode round, what have you. I was just like, this option of everything that you could have done makes the least amount of sense, in my opinion. So, like, hopefully we'll get that explanation because I am very confused. I would have at least maybe put like two, if you're gonna throw out two votes, put them both on saving Oscar. So Oscar at least goes to the jury, like having that, well, Piglet really tried, like he did what he agreed on, but like doing the 1-1, you're just canceling yourself out and wasting a banked vote. It just I really didn't understand that
Which
situation.
is a conversation I want to have because first off, Oscar gave Piglet 2 banked votes. So at minimum, Zach should have had 3 votes on him if you're truly gonna, want to save Oscar, even if you're not trying to save him, use his 2 votes. You know how Oscar is. He's very vocal. If you are shady against him, he's not gonna like that. But then the splitting of the votes makes no sense to me. Every time someone does it, I get you're trying to be nice. They gave me a banked vote. Let me use it to keep them. Why? At that point, you already know they're going home. You're doing it to jury manage. And half the time, it doesn't even happen in the jury phase of the game. So you're just wasting something that you could use for yourself later on. What are they going to do? Call you out for it? Cool. Yeah, I have a banked vote. Someone come work with me now.
Right.
It's just like, why cancel yourself out in such like a pivotal round? Like, I guess in general, but like especially this round, like make it make sense.
Yeah, I don't get it at all. Like, at least like put your 1 vote like on Zach to like save Oscar, and then if you get that question in the end, be like, Johnny told me they were using a bunch of banked votes. I didn't really know how many they had, so like it didn't make sense to use yours. It wouldn't have worked anyways. Like that's what I like. You could at least lie in that situation. Like I don't know. It just to cancel yourself out so close to the end and waste that banked vote is just. I don't know. I don't get it.
Right there. I don't know. This late in the game, why? I would have been saving that up. He's going to probably need it later, and he's probably going to regret doing this. He should have just did his regular vote on Zach and called it a day. Kept the bank votes. Sorry, Oscar, I stole them from you, girl. Didn't use them to help you, babe.
Yeah. Also, we skipped past it, and I want to go back to it for a second. There was a conversation between Johnny and Piglet, and Johnny almost basically baited Piglet into using all his banked votes because, like, Johnny was like, "Yeah, I have 2. Like, I'm gonna use them." Like, and he was like, "Are you using your banked votes?" If someone asks me if I'm using my banked votes, like in my mind, that means I should use my banked votes because obviously you think that I'm going to, so I need to at least do this to tie it. Which like it was a knock like on Johnny's gameplay for me, just because like Johnny talks so much that now it's getting to the point where like you need to start shutting up or you're gonna reveal your plan. And he almost did that to Piglet. And I think if Piglet would have like clocked that, maybe it would have changed something, or maybe it helped Piglet decide I'm not gonna use both of the banked votes that Oscar gave me plus mine because they're just gonna waste all theirs and I'll have this for later.
100%.
Yeah, I think Piglet was cluing into it based on because I think he like asked Johnny like a clarifying question or whatever, and like Johnny was just giving up the whole plan. And so I think what we said earlier about how like I think Piglet knew Oscar had to go. It's not really him sending him home. It's like these other people are sending you home, sorry, which just like again comes back to like then why cancel your own vote out? Like I don't know. So like either use them all because he knew Johnny was gonna use, X amount, or like use none of them. But I don't know, maybe we'll get the explanation.
I hope we do because I'm comment below. Comment below. Please someone
So Oscar gets eliminated in a vote of 6-1. How do we feel about Oscar's gameplay this season?
He was a front runner. He was a better version of Johnny because he made deals. He was very vocal. He was definitely like steamrolling with like opposite sides, but steamrolling just as much as Johnny was. So seeing him go, he he is a great player. They needed to get him out. He should take it with pride because he slayed this season. Ate it up, girl. Was a terror. Well, he was frightening this whole season. Or frightening, yes.
I fully agree. I think him and Elise were like the dynamic duo of the season. They seemed pretty much untouchable for a large part of the game. I think he won few greenhouses, had a lot of seeds. I think that's the biggest thing that like the other side lacked. Like Oscar and Elise had the economy down. Like they had a monopoly on the seeds and the uproots and the fly traps, and they could do whatever they wanted. They, had the options. So they were very, very impressive. And he was like pretty upfront and honest the whole time, which I think garners a lot of favor. And you can't really be mad at someone who's stabbing you in the front as much, as somebody stabbing you in the back. And he just, was true to himself and played his way and played very, very well. So, yeah, unfortunate. He was such a front runner, a really great player, a lot to be proud of. So, unfortunate that sometimes if you're too much of a threat, sometimes the best players of the season don't win. So, but a lot to be proud of. He was a great, great player.
Absolutely. And most of the time, the best players don't win. Let's be so for real.
So before we talk about the start of round 11, let's talk about MVPs for round 10. We'll start with Maddie.
Me first. I was gonna take a minute. MVP for the round. This is hard. Dusty, you go first.
Not cutting it off.
Wow, the plot twist here from what we discussed before we went live to what we're at now. My decision and the choice has changed.
Oh.
Yes, it has. I think the VIP this round who deserves their flowers and probably will not receive them is truly Zach. I think Zach staying on the block, even though he's been targeted round after round these past several rounds, was ballsy and risky, but the reward that he got out of it, fabulous. Like one of the best, top two, maybe even the best player of the whole game went out because you did this and you gave your seeds to Johnny, and yeah, I'm gonna say Zach deserves his flowers. I'll get him for you. I'll buy him for you, girl.
I thought you were calling Zach one of the top two players of the season, and I said
no. Oscar. Sorry, Zach.
And then we got to like where you said one of the top two, Oscar, and I said, oh, okay.
Yes. I'll get you flowers, Zach, but you're not the best player of the season. Sorry, girl.
Zach
Right,
definitely.
Maddie.
I think. Now I wish I would have went first. I think I was leaning towards Zach. I don't know. I'm trying not to pick Taylor, but I'm just gonna pick Taylor. She's my good sis, and I think she was pivotal in this. She had the power position. Whatever she wanted to happen was gonna happen. It's a great spot to be in. I think all of her social capital she's been slowly kind of watering is blossoming and paying off in this round, as you can see. I think she's not on anyone's like major hit list. I don't even think in like the 1 or 2 spot. I think she's really set up for the end game. And I think this round proved it, and she like solidified her spot there. So I'm just biasedly going to give it to Taylor. Sorry, everybody else.
I think I was gonna say Taylor just because she went into this round probably not in a top 3 spot, and I think leaving this round she is in a top 3 spot in any scenario, whether it's with Johnny and Zach or maybe with Elise and Piglet. I think even now Josh isn't really targeting her. Granted, Josh can't play in the Greenhouse Challenge. We know what happens in the Greenhouse Challenge. But I think she's kind of set this round. I don't think I see Taylor getting 6th or 5th. I think the worst Taylor will do is 4th. And I think this round set her to be that way.
I agree.
I agree
So
too.
yeah, I'm a Taylor MVP this week.
Yes. I'm still gonna pick Zach. Love you though, Taylor.
I agree with the Taylor Zach combo. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think those two definitely got the most out of this round.
Yes, agreed.
For sure. I think both of them could really get to the end now. I didn't see it before this round, but now I see it.
Right.
So real fast, round 11 starts, a new Greenhouse Challenge. Josh and Elise cannot compete. So that leaves Johnny, Taylor, Zach, and I'm missing someone. Piglet.
Piglet?
Yes. It leaves those 4, 3 of which are still in an alliance together. And then there's Piglet. So they had to recreate the little pattern on the card. If you got it, you went into the greenhouse. They did a new challenge, like a new round. They did that 3 times. And Johnny, Taylor, and Zach end up winning the greenhouse challenge. How do we feel about this 3? Not knowing, the flower picking ceremony yet.
It's what I wanted out of this. I wanted them to get into the greenhouse. Does Johnny need to go? Absolutely yes. I still wanted him in over Piglet though, so yeah, it was my dream scenario for me.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that seemingly last round, a final 3 trio was Greenhouse, and now this round seemingly another kind of, final 3 agreements, agreements. I just made up a word of
Come on, dictionary.
I know. So Webster, give me my credit. No. So I think it'll be interesting to see who really wants to pick what flower. I'm not really sure if anyone's gonna have a super strong opinion. I guess why not? Would you take safety if everyone can compete for safety next round? So we'll see what happens there. But I think again for Taylor and Zach, I think this bodes very well. And again, they're kind of on the upswing and solidifying at least like a 4th place spot for themselves. So they can now do something with this. So I'm excited to see who picks what and how the round shakes out.
Yeah, I think for me personally, if I was in this position, and I, was one of the top 2 spots, I would go for Rose at this point. I feel like Rose in the single-digit rounds is a lot more powerful than the Sunflower, just because you're the tiebreaker vote. Like, we're both putting up one person, and if you're against me and you're going to put an ally up, we get a seed. So you can take the Sunflower and have fun with that, and I'll take the tiebreaker vote if we need it.
Oh, 100%
Smart point.
But okay, that was all for the episode. So I want to ask you two, what we kind of think is going to happen into like the rest of the game. We're at the final 6. We have 2 episodes left in the season. These people should be thinking about Endgame. So let's talk about it.
You can go first this time, Maddie, because now I need to think.
Let's talk about it. I, as of 30 minutes ago, I think understand how Final Four works. So I'm really proud of myself. I have no idea who is going to give who what, to vote for them, to give them immunity, if it's going to be a 2-some, a 3-some, a whatever. So I just have who I think is in the best spot to win. And for me, I feel like that person is Piglet. So I think Piglet's my winner pick right now. I think everyone has loved Piglet this entire game. I think Piglet has had a bunch of seeds and banked votes and have known where they are, and people have relied on Piglet to make things happen and votes happen. He's always been clued in on the plan before the rest of the house has been made aware of the plan. I think besides this round for like the very first time. So I think he's had a great standing. I think the jury really likes him. So I think he's in a good spot to win.
I definitely would agree with that. I think that right now it's between Piglet, Taylor, and Elise for me because they have all the capital right now. They have all of it, girl. They have all of it. Johnny and Zach have nothing, and Josh has 1 seed. So, um, right now, I really do think we could see a Piglet win here. Um, I if Piglet went to the end with Taylor and Elise, just say this is a scenario because this is what I'm thinking could happen. I don't see all this hype about Elise winning because honestly, let's be real. Oscar did a lot of the socializing for both of them. I think Elisa's social game, I don't personally have seen it as great as people are saying it is. She's just a comp threat beast. She was in that greenhouse. She freaking lived in it. Um,
Yeah.
so I think the social game on that duo that was a threat was mostly Oscar, not so much Elise. So I could really see Piglet taking this as well. And I think if Taylor gets the in, she could fight for that win as well.
So just for like everyone that's watching, Dusty kind of said it, but Elise has 3 seeds, Taylor has 3 seeds, Piglet has 3 seeds and 3 banked votes, Josh has 1 seed, and then Johnny and Zach have nothing. I think without any extra seed hunts, because sometimes towards the end they throw in like a little seed hunt here or there. I think the most seeds that could come into the game are 6, because 2 from the greenhouse. That's a lie. 8. 2 from the greenhouse, 1 from the sunflower nomming you, and then if there's a renom from the sunflower, another seed gets granted. So if that happens twice, 8 more seeds could come into the game. I don't think any other banked votes are going to come into play. So I still think the final 4 could be up in the air. I think if you have nothing right now, there's still a chance for you to get something. And even having nothing in the end isn't necessarily horrible because then like people are more likely to come to you if, it's like an Oscar or Elise, which like Oscar's gone, but just like duo scenario. If it's Oscar, Elise, and Johnny and Zach at the end, they're going to have to, vote for their little duo partner and hope they have more seeds than the other duo. So I think anything can happen with the final 4. It's so hard to say because then, people at the end can be messy and be like, oh, I've been working with Piglet all game, but he definitely needs to go. But I do think for me personally, I've been on the Josh and Piglet train. I said the Joshes from the beginning. I think episode 2, I said those 2 are going to make it far. They're going to make it to the end. I think those 2 will make it to the end. I think Piglet has a better chance to win than Josh, just because I have not seen much from Josh up until this point. He made his move last round with Johnny and Zach, but is it enough to get a win? I don't think
I
so.
agree with that. And there is one thing that I wanted to talk about because we didn't bring it up when it comes to the seed counts. We don't know if Oscar gave Elise his 3 seeds. So Elise could come into this round with 6 seeds.
Very that. So like anything could change like super quick. And that doesn't account for if there's a bidding war for Uproot, this round. Because if Elise does get Oscar's 3 seeds, Elise has 6, and then Piglet and Taylor might work together and try and get Josh, and it could be a 7-6, 7-7, some type of weird number bidding war, and then Zach's 2 seeds might, be the 2 deciding seeds. So
Right.
it's all up in the air, and that's why I think the final 4 is so hard. Just because like you never truly know what could happen because it comes down to, you don't know anything until the end of the final 5 round when the auction's over, and for sure how many seeds are left in the game. And even that point, Elise could have 6 seeds and get 5th place and not give them to anyone. So
as she shouldn't. Queen, you should never. Never.
But yeah, no, I think this end game is going to be very lively. The beginning of the season, we had our ups and downs. It started to trend a little down just because like the alliance of 4 And then kind of the duo of Oscar and Elise were running their sides. But now I think we're in a more open playing field and people are ready to get their win.
Yes, I definitely agree. It's going to be an exciting end game now that things are shaken up. And kind of
Yeah, I
all like
think
it was tossed up in the air, so we'll see.
yeah, I think this pretty much main group has had a pretty good idea of how they were going to get to this point, but now it's like, all right, what do we do? And everyone's been talking to everyone. It's been kind of a group mentality going forward, but it still has been very fluid within. So I think it's interesting to it's going to be really crazy because everyone has their own agenda and they're going to want to push it and make their agenda the one that sticks. And at Final Four, just again, having to place, like having the most seeds may not necessarily be the best thing because you have to give them away to someone in hopes that they then return it and play them on you. So it's just going to be interesting to see who gets those. And I think that's why I also say Piglet. I think more than anybody, he has I think the best chance of people giving him that final immunity because they trust that he will bring them along with him. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have anything else to add that we missed or that you want to talk about before we go ahead and wrap this up?
We've took we contributed to my list of needs.
Well,
No, just this was so fun. Hi to the greenhouse community. Hope to stick around and catch up on all of the other seasons.
Yeah.
And thanks for inviting me, Papa and Edmund, who I think woke up 10 minutes ago. So
10 minutes ago.
He's alive, everyone. Edmund is awoken.
But thank you both so much for joining me on this little semifinal podcast for the Greenhouse 6. Everyone, make sure that you tune in to the Greenhouse only Thursday and Sunday for the rest of this season at 8/7 Central down at the link below. Thank you all so much for watching. And remember, love one another.